particularly through the ability to translate and the ability to know the country. There are many Iraqi Americans, Chaldean Americans, who went back to Iraq at great risk, as a matter of fact, in order to help our military to do what they were able to do in Iraq. And that is a special ability that people who come from other places have. It is a gift which the Chaldean American community has given to us. And being chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I'm especially aware of that. And we made special provision in our law, as a matter of fact, for those people who took that risk, so that those who were in Iraq, who were not yet American citizens or green card holders, who took that risk for us, will have now special provision for them to become American citizens, for us to give them the kind of support that they gave us. There's one other thing I want to talk about here tonight, and that's the rule of law. Being a lawyer myself, being someone who has practiced law, who became the first attorney for the Michigan Civil Rights Commission when it was formed in 1964, who has a deep belief that one of the special aspects and characteristics of our country is equality before the law, but also the rule of law. And one of the incidents that happened recently in my life in the Senate kind of illustrates this theme. Every year we get involved in a defense authorization bill. We authorize funds for the pay of our troops, the health care of our troops, their benefits, their families' benefits, their equipment, their training. And every year when we do this bill, it's a complicated bill, but for 50 straight years we've never failed on a bipartisan basis to pass a defense authorization bill. For many years we've tried to pass a hate crimes bill in this country. A law which would make it especially wrong, would have a particularly tough additional penalty if the crime that you committed was motivated by hatred for a particular people, be it their ethnic origin or their race or their religion or whatever. It was called a hate crimes bill, and we couldn't get it passed for many years, until a few years ago, when Ted Kennedy was then alive, and I decided that we were going to try to get a hate crimes bill passed as part of the defense authorization bill. Now, we do some crazy things in the U.S. Senate. In the U.S. Senate, you don't have to, when you offer an amendment to a bill, have an amendment which is germane to that bill or even relevant to that bill. But in this case, Ted Kennedy and I argued that adding a hate crimes provision to a defense authorization bill was particularly relevant and germane to the security of this country. That what our men and women put their uniforms on to fight for are values. They're not just fighting for our personal physical security, although they surely do that. They are also fighting for the values of this country, and in many cases give up their lives so that those values can be shared with other countries. That is why we went to Iraq, whether you agree or disagree with that. That is why we went to Afghanistan, in part so that the people in other countries could have the same kind of freedom to think, to practice religion that we do. And so our argument was to our colleagues that a hate crimes bill, which is much broader than the armed services, was totally appropriate on a defense authorization bill because of what our men and women fight for, which is to spread the values of this country to other places. We don't always succeed, but our motives are not our own greed. We don't go to other countries and fight in other countries for ourselves, although we do that, but it's not just for ourselves. It's for what we believe in and have found lead to a society which is just and to the well-being of its people. And so we were able to succeed and now have indeed a hate crimes law, which is another step on this American journey to a juster society. We've had a lot of setbacks. We take sometimes 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We still have plenty of bigotry and problems, much bigotry still in this country. We have made advances in terms of rights for people who are homosexual, gays and lesbians. We finally have decided that that is another step towards a freer, juster, fairer society where we do not single out people and mistreat people based on their differences from the majority. That is another step, as the hate crimes law was another step, which we took, and we also did that, by the way, as part of the Defense Authorization Bill. So this country, which you have contributed so much to in the Chaldean American community, is a journey. It's a journey whose mission will never be finished because there's always going to be imperfections. But it's a journey in which the community that you are part of, the legal profession, which many of you are part of, is so essential to making us not just strong, but also fair, wiser, and a society which we will leave to our children and our grandchildren as being a society which lives up to the ideals of this country, even more so than the one that we came to. So I want to thank you for inviting me tonight. I want to thank those of you who practice law for the contribution that you make to the rule of law, to making the rule of law accessible to more people. There are many of you who represent folks on a pro bono basis. Our honoree tonight, as a matter of fact, is well known for making his services available to people who cannot afford legal services. And that is also so important in a society which has this dream of being ever juster, ever fairer, ever more egalitarian, ever more determined to live up to the ideals of our founding fathers, which have been inherited by those of us who came much later. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. Thank you to the Chaldean American Bar Association for the great work you do, and to this incredibly strong Chaldean American community, which is not just shown so many others what it is like to be part of a strong community, but has shared that strength with the broader community of Greater Detroit. Thanks again for the invitation.